Tragedy strikes Martha's Vineyard as 50 migrants show up and cause all sorts of havoc. Media melts down. Everybody melts down because of, well, a couple dozen individuals showed up unexpectedly. We're going to go through this. It wasn't just at Martha's Vineyard. It was also over at the Naval Observatory, which, of course, is where Kamala Harris resides. And so we're going to go into this. But as you can see, this is what it looked like. This was the tarmac. This is airport scenery with the airplane landing in, and home sweet home for a brand new group of migrants. Fox News actually caught wind of this. They got the original footage, and this sort of leads people to believe that they were keyed off on this, that they got, well, that's weird. Why did Fox News get hints about this little departure and this landing, but the rest of the people in, I don't know, Martha's Vineyard or in Massachusetts didn't? Here is the scene of the migrants landing in Martha's Vineyard, proudly being in a beautiful new home. No audio here, but you can see the plane landing. It looks like some people getting off the tarmac. I think they're fist bumping the pilots or something. I think that was a couple of them right there. Was that a fist bump? Yeah, there was a nice little fist bump there. Excellent flying. Tremendous job. I can't wait to be here. I heard Obama lives right around the corner. Do you know where he lives? And so they're just sort of, getting off the airplane. All right. And as you can see, we just fast forward through this, and now they are finally arriving at a new location. And they're going to churches, and they're being put on vans, and they're being carted around Martha's Vineyard. Arrival, baggage claim. You can see it looks like a nice little quaint airport. Now, I have never had the privilege of going to Martha's Vineyard. It sounds like a beautiful place. Sounds like a lot of celebrities and politicians and the elite upper class. Probably a lot of Harvard grads over there. But they're hanging out over there. And so I was thinking to myself, my goodness, where is this place? I don't really know much about it, but it looks pretty nice. I'm a West Coast boy. I grew up in Arizona. We don't even have water here. So to think about an island in the middle of sort of the Atlantic Ocean up near Massachusetts, I would say, what is this place? And so you can see that's right where it is. It is an island. It is highly isolated from, I guess the mainland of America. So you got to get on a boat, I guess, to get over there, or drive on a bridge. There looks like there's a couple bridges over there. And, it's a big island. And a lot of people have their second homes there, and they go up there in the summers when it's a little too hot down south. So Martha's Vineyard looks like a beautiful place. And as you'll notice, there are more details provided by Wikipedia, more details about Martha's Vineyard. You can see where it's located. Separated storms, hurricanes often come through there. It's primarily known as a summer colony, but its year-round population has grown. It says here that there are pretty severe income disparities because the home prices on Martha's Vineyard are dramatically higher than other places around Massachusetts and sort of the surrounding geographics. But there was an interesting section here talking about some of the politics. And let's see if I can find that. I probably scrolled right by it. I thought I had it queued up, but apparently I didn't. Let me see if I can grab it. While we're scrolling through here, a couple sections about air, transportation, water. There was a whole section. Hopefully Wikipedia didn't delete it. But there was a whole section about here it is, I believe. Yeah, Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. Martha's Vineyard. Since the 1990s, Bill Clinton spent regular vacation time on the island during and after his presidency, along with Hillary and their daughter Chelsea. He wasn't the first president. Other presidents have been there. On August 23rd, 2009, Barack Obama arrived there with his family for a week's vacation. In December 2019, Barack Obama completed the purchase of a 30-acre homestead. Woo! Kennedy family was there. Number of other people were there. And so you've got some pretty interesting history over there at Martha's Vineyard. Looks like a beautiful place. And they seem to be very, very welcoming, right? This was something that a lot of the businesses put up when they were, I guess, trying to stand for something. And you've probably seen a lot of signs like this in your local neighborhoods, your local restaurants. You go to a certain event and people post these things up. Here, this one says, "The island of Martha's Vineyard." They write, "We respect women. We value Black lives. We stand with our LGBTQ community members." And they're missing like 13 or 14 letters on that one. So I don't know how inclusive that is. But they say, "We stand with immigrants, with refugees, with indigenous peoples." and with people of all faiths. We stand with our community. Oh, well, that sounds great. That sounds perfect. We're great. That's great. So immigrants, refugees, indigenous people, great. All of it. Perfect. All are welcome here in big, white, almost racist font color. All are welcome here. Hate has no business here, is what they say. All are welcome. Well, that's great news, because there are several million people who are looking for a place to go. Martha's Vineyard sounds lovely. So they're making their way over there. And a lot of the people in the media pretty unhappy about this. Now, 50 people is what we're talking about. Not a whole lot of people. If you look at the numbers, it's hundreds of thousands coming across every year, saying many saying 2 million now are going to cross the border any minute now, based on the number since Biden took office. Insane numbers. Now they come together and they start to say that they are really addressing this problem. And I think this is great, actually. Yeah, I mean, they want them there. They're welcoming them there. And this representative over on Twitter, this guy named Dylan Fernandez, he posted this. As soon as the migrants started to land in Martha's Vineyard, Dylan Fernandez, a representative on Martha's Vineyard, state representative for the most beautiful part of Massachusetts, honored to represent Martha's Vineyard, right? He's a representative over there. Dylan said, our island jumped into action, putting together 50 beds, giving everyone a good meal, providing a play area for the children, making sure people have the health care and the support they need. We are a community that comes together to support immigrants. And so there you go. They've got 50 beds. Looks great. It looks great. That looks perfect. That's outstanding. I mean, it looks better than Joe Biden's immigration centers down at the border where there were people wrapped around in space blankets. You know, this looks great. They've got plenty of room. They've got plenty of money. There's Jesus back there. It's perfect. All right. So that sounds great. And this is a good job, Dylan, right? He's doing a great job. And everybody says, thank you. Perfect. Yeah. So I guess that means that everything is going pretty well. Now, kind of hysterical, right? It's only 50 people, 50 beds. So that's like, I think that happened since we got 50 more people here through Yuma since we started this show 15 minutes ago. But okay, that's great. So I guess they can just take more busloads, more and more people coming through. Outstanding. But he also is a representative who is a part of Martha's Vineyard, and they posted something else interesting on their Twitter account. Visit Martha's Vineyard posted this. They said, to our island community, here is an update on the current humanitarian crisis on Martha's Vineyard. We thank people for their continued help. What? Humanitarian crisis? You just said you welcome all these immigrants. You welcome them there. And you've got beds for them. And there's Jesus on the wall. So what are you talking about? What humanitarian crisis? I thought you were a sanctuary that's supposed to be sort of welcoming and peaceful and relaxing. So what kind of humanitarian crisis is this? They say, we thank our people for their continued support. All right. And they put together this press release. Okay, 9:15 Martha Vineyard's humanitarian response crisis press release. For immediate release, signed off on by all of these very important agencies with all of their symbols. Heather is the contact person responsible for this, published September 15th, 2022 at 10 a.m. It says Martha's Vineyard humanitarian response. Update, 9:15, 1000 hours. We continue to provide shelter, food, and care to individuals that arrived on the island yesterday. A coalition of vineyard towns, community-based, and nonprofit groups are assisting in this effort. 50 people. Okay, by the way, 50 people. They got a coalition. They got a community-based organization of nonprofit groups to go deal with these 50 whoppers. All right. We will continue to work very closely with our state partners who have pledged support and resources for any unmet needs that we may have. As we do with any shelter operation, we are focused on meeting the immediate needs of the people that we are sheltering and engaged in contingency planning if the situation changes. We are grateful to the many local and neighboring individuals and members who've reached out in support. Please contact us if you can help. But the day before, their update was as follows. At 1500 today, approximately 50 individuals, to the best of our knowledge originating from Venezuela, landed at Martha's Vineyard Airport seeking shelter. This is an ongoing situation. Town emergency management operation from 6 island towns and the sheriff's office, as well as the county management, are actively coordinating to develop a coordinated regional response. The group in question have been provided with food, water, and emergency stabilization for sheltering for the evening. 2 emergency shelters have been established locally, with additional space available for further arrivals in case they occur. We have reached out to our state and federal partners for additional and long-term support and assistance. All activated local and emergency management will remain in effect as we learn more and anticipate our state partners and coordinated response. Wow. Did they get attacked by a group of terrorists or something? Was there a hurricane or something that happened over there? Town emergency management operations from 6 island towns, as well as the county management, are all actively collaborating to develop a regional response. What happened over there? Holy crap! There's 50 people. Okay, so they have to stop everything and just a total crisis. Well, this is interesting because, again, you multiply that, add, I don't know, 5, 6 different zeros to the end of that number. And that's what many of the border states are dealing with. So the very, very, it sounds like overwhelmed Martha Vineyard is now dealing with 6 different towns to coordinate this urgent response. Martha's Vineyard. 50 beds breaking the whole stinking island. Now, it's not just Martha Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard. Over at the Naval Observatory, we also see migrants being dropped off in front of Kamala's house. If you're not familiar, the Naval Observatory is where the vice president resides. It's pretty close over to the actual White House. You can see when I recorded this GIF for our viewing pleasure, you can see I just sort of scrolled right down. The Naval Observatory is up there sort of in the, I think that's north, right? And then you scroll back down, and then the White House is sort of right nearby. So where these migrants are being dropped off, this is going to be right basically in the thick of D.C., right near the Washington Monument. There's the Lincoln Memorial down there, sort of in that centerpiece at the end of the frame. So they're all going to be dropped off there as well. And Fox News was on the scene as the migrants got off the buses. Here is a Fox News reporter who is responding to Ducey. He's standing there as immigrants are coming off the buses, and he's reporting what he sees.
From our southern border have just arrived outside Vice President Kamala Harris's residence at the Naval Observatory in Washington, D.C. Griff Jenkins is live on the scene to tell us more. Griff, is that Massachusetts Avenue that I'm looking at right there?
Yeah. Good morning, Steve, Ainsley, and Brian. This bus just arrived moments ago. I talked to some of the folks. Apparently, this bus has come from Del Rio, Texas. That's what a gentleman on the bus told me. And these, pardon me, ¿de dónde eres?
De Venezuela.
¿Venezuela? ¿Habla inglés?
No.
¿Sí, no? ¿No? La presidenta Harris dice que frontera cerrado. La frontera es cerrado or abierto?
Abierto.
Abierto.
Oh,
so what she said
is the border open or closed? It's open, abierto.
And Steve, I asked her, Vice President Harris says that the border is closed. She says it's open as we see these migrants coming across now.
So that was just one migrant coming off the bus. But what about other migrants? Do other migrants think that the border is open or closed?
We're not sure how many there are. We do know that according to Texas Governor Abbott's office, there have been about 7,900. Pardon me, do you speak English? ¿Habla inglés?
No, amigo.
¿De dónde eres?
Venezuela.
Venezuela?
Venezuela.
Everybody from todos Venezuela?
Sí, venimos prácticamente de Venezuela, un país muy duro. En realidad, queríamos ya salir de allá, tenemos días viajando. Migración también nos ha jodido mucho en México, pero lo que queremos es triunfar, queremos evolucionar, queremos tener de todo, queremos
Okay, thank you.
Watch him. Watch
Yeah,
him.
buenos suerte. So I'm not going to be able to translate all of that, and I wouldn't even try because it wouldn't look good on live TV. But
No.
as you can see, they're coming across here, all of these migrants. It appears to be at least 20 or so at this point. We have 2 buses. So when I was
That guy was just ready to talk. He's like, hey, this is what's up. I'm coming here. We're looking for work. We're trying to get through immigration. Mexico's not any good. And yes, well, here's my whole story. And the guy, I don't understand most of what you just said, but thank you for saying it. I don't know what just happened. All right. Well, he came from Venezuela. You know, the good news here is that it doesn't sound like many of these people are from Guatemala, because remember, Kamala Harris went down to Guatemala and she said, don't you come to our country. Do not come. And maybe they're listening because all these people are from Venezuela. Let's see who else is coming off the bus.
saying was, we know from Governor Abbott's office, there have been about 7,900 migrants on over 190 buses coming to D.C., more than 2,200 on more than 40 buses to New York, and of course, about 5 buses to Chicago with a little over 300 migrants. ¿De dónde eres?
Buenos días, ¿cómo está?
¿De dónde eres?
No, no entiendo, no inglés.
¿Habla inglés?
No, no, no.
Okay.
He said they donde eres, which is where are you from? And he said, I don't speak English. He didn't ask you in English. He asked you in Spanish, but he said, how are you doing? All right. So you can see, it sounds like a lot of people getting off the bus, many of them from Venezuela. Maybe Kamala should have gone down to Venezuela and said, don't you come? Because apparently they're not coming from Guatemala, but that's what's the scene looks like there. Now, as Fox News continued on, remember, we have this interesting compare and contrast between Kamala Harris and between the migrants. Many migrants are coming to the United States. They feel like the border is wide open. But Kamala Harris said previously the border is not wide open. So which one is it? Here's Kamala. Then we'll listen to the immigrants and see what they say.
We're going to have 2 million people cross this border for the first time ever. You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration.
Oh my gosh.
Vice President Harris said that the border is closed. Is the border closed? Do you believe that the border is closed, or is it open?
It's open, not closed. The border is open.
Yeah.
The border is open. Do you believe that all the migrants believe that the border is open?
Yeah, everybody believes that the border is open.
Of course.
It's open because we enter. We
Yeah.
come in.
We're right here. Obviously, it's here. We're standing here. If the border was closed, we wouldn't be here. It's open and we're in. What's so complicated about this, Fox? Why do you even have to report it? What kind of a dumb question is this, idiot? He goes back to his business. Kamala can't even hardly mutter out an answer. Let's listen to her one more time, how painful this is.
We're going to have 2 million people cross this border for the first time ever. You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration.
We have a secure border in that it is a priority for any nation. Oh my gosh. All right. So borders open. Immigrants know it. Kamala knows it. And apparently the rest of Venezuela knows it as well. Here's a couple more images and videos from the scene. Here's people getting off the bus. Long journey. Landing in a beautiful new place right outside the Naval Observatory, right near Kamala Harris's residence. Perfect. Very, very perfect. And we have another image after the bus loads are off. You can see the camera pounds around a little bit. This is the scene of the activity on the other side. A lot of media there, a lot of people wondering where to go, right in front of the Naval Observatory. And you can see what looks like a boat anchor laying right there in front of it. And so they're going to be plopped right down in the middle so that Kamala maybe can have a conversation with them. Maybe she convinced them, she can talk to them about something. That is what's going on at the Naval Observatory. Now, the deboarding continues, and people are melting down about Ron DeSantis and Texas Governor Abbott, who are sending individuals to other locations. At the White House, Karien Jean Pierre, really laid into the nasty MAGA Republicans who are using these poor immigrants for their own political gain. Let's listen to KJP on the immigration crisis.
The fact that Fox News and not the Department of Homeland Security, the city or local NGOs were alerted about a plan to leave migrants, including children, on the side of a busy DC street makes clear that this is just a cruel, premeditated political stunt.
Hold on a minute. Mark those words. Cruel, premeditated political stunt. Moving people around, putting on people on airplanes and sending them from one location to another is a cruel, political, partisan stunt?
This is what they are doing. And a couple more things. The migrants, including children who arrived in Martha's Vineyard, were misled about where they were being taken and what would be provided when they arrived is also deeply alarming. The children Governor Abbott abandoned in Martha's Vineyard, the children that Governor Desantis abandoned as well, deserve better. They deserve better than being left on the streets of D.C.
They deserve better than being left on the streets of D.C. She saying that people are being moved around from one location to another. They're going from one city to another city, and they're just sort of being dropped off. They're being moved around like cattle. Governor Pritzker said they were moving around like chattel. But the White House was responsible for a lot of this same stuff very recently, you may recall. Remember these stories over from Yahoo News and other places, saying the Biden administration quietly flies illegal immigrants to New York in the middle of the night. Oh, they were doing things very, very surreptitiously, weren't they? Very covertly. The Biden administration has been quietly flying underage illegal immigrants from Texas to New York late at night for multiple months. New York Post analysis of online flight tracking data suggests that 2,000 migrants have arrived in New York. They're moving them all over the place, moving them deeper into the country. So I don't understand this. What's the problem? If they're flying from Texas to New York, what's the problem if they're flying from Texas to the Naval Observatory or from Texas to Martha's Vineyard? They did it with thousands of migrants, moving them deeper into the homeland, deeper into the geographic region, flying them all over the place. But now this is a crisis of some sort because they're going to cities that want them. Martha's Vineyard and other cities have declared themselves to be sanctuary cities. Washington, D.C., we've talked about this. Muriel Bowser, the mayor there, said it's a sanctuary city. They have welcomed immigrants and migrants and said that they want them there. They're being delivered there. Ron DeSantis is making that happen. Here is Ron DeSantis explaining why he made the decision to put migrants on airplanes and send them over to Martha's Vineyard, saying they kind of want them, don't they? Isn't that their entire policy as a sanctuary city in the first place?
We are not a sanctuary state, and it's better to be able to go to a sanctuary jurisdiction. And yes, we will help facilitate that transport for you to be able to go to greener pastures.
Very easy. You want to go
Biden
to a sanctuary
would fly
city.
People in the middle of the night, dump them all across this country. There was no warning on any of this. And all those people in D.C. and New York were beating their chests when Trump was president, saying they were so proud to be sanctuary jurisdictions,
right,
saying how bad it was to have a secure border. The minute even a small fraction of what those border towns deal with every day is brought to their front door, they all of a sudden go berserk, and they're so upset that this is happening. And it just shows you, their virtue signaling is a fraud.
Absolutely a fraud. They don't want it in their backyard. They're okay with all this happening as long as it stays in the red border states. As long as it's Arizona's problem, as long as it's Texas's problem, they don't really care. Hundreds of thousands of people pouring into these states individually every single year. Federal government's pretty much cool with it, but they want them to stay there. They don't want them in their backyard because they've only got about 50 beds. They're running out pretty quickly. And we've heard that this was declared a national emergency by the mayor in D.C. They can't handle it. So if they can't handle it with, like, say, 10,000, 11,000 people, how do you think it's implicating the states that have to deal with hundreds of thousands, an order of magnitude greater? It's virtually impossible, and it's insane. We have now, in response to Ron DeSantis and his efforts to communicate the problem that is unfettered immigration to other parties around the country, we have individuals in Florida who are elected officials. Somebody named Nikki Fried, who is an elected person there in Florida, says, I just got off the phone with the White House. I'm asking the Justice Department to investigate Ron DeSantis and his political human trafficking. Political human trafficking. You mean like the FBI was doing when they were shipping everybody all over the place? Let's see what she says. This is Nikki Fried's referral. She works for the Florida Department of Agriculture and Computer Consumer Services. Nikki Fried calls Merrick Garland and then sends him the following letter here, September 15th. It says, to the Honorable Merrick Garland, Attorney General of the United States at the U.S. Department of Justice. It says, Dear Attorney General Garland, as an independently elected member of the Florida Cabinet, I'm writing to urge your office to launch an immediate investigation into the actions of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and the transportation of 50 migrants by plane to Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts. That 50 number is an interesting number, isn't it? Isn't that interesting? I wonder if that's symbolic of anything. I don't know. The use of human beings to score political points is the first and foremost detestable. You go, well, hey, weirdo, what are you talking about? The Biden administration was just doing this. Like, confirmed. All right. Additionally, this maneuver raises serious legal questions and will have untold repercussions on the individuals caught up in the governor's political stunt. An investigation is necessary to understand who these immigrants are, how they were transported across state lines, and if their rights were violated. Early media reports describe many of the migrants as Venezuelan, having first crossed the border in Texas before being released. It's unclear how or even if these immigrants arrived in Florida and found themselves being transported by plane from an unknown location to Massachusetts. One migrant reported a promise of, quote, housing and work if transported to the small island community. Well, they say that they have a community there and that they want people there and they honor migrants and indigenous people. Well, they were not indigenous people, but they honor refugees and migrants. So I got to imagine there's plenty of work for them. I mean, there's rich people all over the place. And, you know, rich people employ a lot of people to do all sorts of minutia. So I'm sure they can find something temporarily. So I think it's true. One migrant reported a promise of housing and work. Well, guess what? They got housing. Work is right around the corner, I'm sure. However, it's unclear who made this promise or if it will be fulfilled. So they're going to go hold somebody accountable for you broke your word to them. Okay. Regardless of potential shelter and job opportunities, she writes, the decision to send 50 migrants to a small community without notice shows a complete disregard for the safety of the migrants and the resources necessary to adequately address their care. Yeah, you're right. We should probably just make them pile up at border facilities down at the juncture there in Texas or here down in Arizona. And you can just shove them back into the cages that Joe Biden had them in with space foil wrappers all wrapped around them while you and the Biden administration hid all of this from most of America. Is that better? Well, that's what she would prefer. She certainly doesn't want it in her backyard. She's okay with it being stuck there at the border. She says, according to media statements, the island's sole homeless shelter does not operate during the summer and can only accommodate 10 people. Yeah, because there aren't any homeless people there. There's no homeless people there. It's all multimillionaires, right? That's why. First of all, the homeless shelter is not even open in the summer because there aren't any homeless. And then when it is open, it's 10 people max because it's just that's beautiful. It's great. Thankfully, they write, residents have stepped up to provide critical resources in the short term Which, again, I fully endorse this. Like, I love that. I think it's amazing. Good. You said you wanted to have them there and support them, and you're a sanctuary. Great. You're fulfilling your end of the bargain. Outstanding job. Like, and I mean that genuinely. Great. They're there. That's the right way to handle it. You said you wanted them there. You said you can handle it. You got resources. Okay, do it. But the long-term sustainability and the consequences, the migrants' ability to attend their immigration court hearings are far from known. Yeah. So now it's welcome to reality. The needs on the ground will only be amplified should the governor Desantis choose to use taxpayer dollars to traffic more human beings to this community as a political stunt. To use human beings as political pawns, as Governor DeSantis has done, is morally reprehensible, she writes, even though they do it all the time. The entire immigration policy in this country from the Democrats, really the entire policy in general by the Democrats, is to treat people like they're trading cards with different powers and level ups and different letters after their names. And, oh, this person is a multi-whatever, whatever, and they have more value than this person who doesn't have value. And so the entire conversation that the Democrat Party has been having for my whole life largely has been about this intersectionality and about treating people like they're pawns, little pieces being moved all over the place. But they call it reprehensible, meriting an immediate investigation right now. Now, I need the DOJ, she says. I need the Department of Justice from the United States government to come in here and investigate this governor as well. They already raided Florida. They already took Trump's boxes of stuff. Why not go get DeSantis's as well? Meriting an immediate investigation and appropriate action by the Department of Justice on behalf of the impacted migrants. Thank you for your consideration to this urgent matter. Sincerely, Nicole Fried, Commissioner of Agriculture. Demanding prosecution, demanding investigation. The DOJ needs to swing into high gear because a governor exercised something that was perfectly within his reason to do. Signed by Nicole over to the Department of Justice, and we'll see if that leads to anything. But the insanity continues. People who are the favored political party are allowed to move migrants wherever they want. If you're a disfavored political party, you're not allowed to move migrants anywhere, lest you be charged with human trafficking under the DOJ. Insanity continues. But over at the White House, Karien Jean Pierre came under some serious scrutiny from a lot of people in the media. Karien was asked about the border, specifically said, is this really a safe and secure border? I mean, we're seeing throngs of people come across day after day. When they get here, they say, we think it's wide open. It looks wide open. We're standing here. Do you think it's open or closed? I mean, I'm standing here right next to you. What do you think? She says it is safe. It is secure.
The busing aside, how do you explain this influx?
Well, again, we understand that we have work to do. We understand that, and we have been doing the work to do that. We have taken unprecedented action over the past year and a half to secure our border and rebuild a safer and orderly process system.
Safe and orderly process system. We've got other clips from Blake Masters and others on the border. Has anything looked safe and orderly? Do you remember the migrant situation that was taking place in Texas and elsewhere? It is continual. It's not orderly. It's not safe. And migrants are dropping dead all over the place. It's insane. When Karien is asked about the security of the border, she has a little bit of a difficult time, as she normally does. We get a little bit of a stumble here, a couple uhs, until she finally mutters out some talking point about the border.
But does the White House stand by those comments that the border is secure?
What we stand by is that we are doing everything that we can to make sure that we follow the process that's been put forth. That's why we have historic funding to do just that, to make sure that
to do what?
To make sure that
come on.
To make sure that the folks that we encounter at the border be removed or expelled.
That's not happening. That's not happening at all. In fact, they're being transported, as you can see, all around the country. People who are coming across are making their way into cities and states that are then removing them to other locations. So the border appears to be wide open. No real rhyme or reason to her logic on that one, as is usually the case. Now, there are many people who are very excited about this schadenfreude, watching the sort of the difficulty that a lot of the border states experience, watching that be observed in other locations. It's kind of like, oh, finally, they get to see what we've been dealing with for forever, because it really is a lot of strain on local economies and local communities. They're finding that out in Martha's Vineyard and DC. They're declaring emergencies and humanitarian crises. So it's not just me saying that. They're saying it themselves. But there's one person running for office who kind of doesn't really like it that much. Kari Lake, responding to the busing of the migrants into different parts of America. And Kari was on with Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson asks her about this, says, hey, Kari, what do you think about these migrants being moved around from the border inland to different parts of the country? You for it or not?
I get a kick out of it watching these liberal mayors just, throw their hands up and say we can't handle it because it's life every day for us in these border states. However, I'm not a fan of it, Tucker. I mean, we're just taking people here illegally who shouldn't be here. We're moving them further inland. My plan is the most bold, aggressive plan on the border. We're going to secure the border. We're going to call it what it is, issue a declaration of invasion on day one, get troops on the border in the form of our National Guard. We're going to stop people from coming over, and we're going to stop the cartels from having control of our border. I don't like it as a mother, and I know no Arizonan likes it, that we are the pipeline for the most dangerous, deadly drug this country's ever seen, called fentanyl. #1 killer of young people. It's all coming through Arizona because Joe Biden gave control of our border to the cartels. And on day one, we're going to invoke our Article 1, Section 10 authority and take back control of our border away from the federal government. It's a dereliction of duty what they've done.
Yes.
And we're not going to let Joe Biden drag the state of Arizona down while he's trying to destroy this country.
No gimmicks. We're not going to play around. We're not going to pick people up, put them on airplanes, put them on buses, send them all over the place, and play these stupid games. Yeah, it's funny. It's fun to watch these liberal mayors and everybody come out and declare humanitarian crises and things like that. But you're just moving people in. You're just exacerbating the problem. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to declare an invasion, go down, shore up the southern border, take care of all of this once and for all, using Arizona National Guards, and finally put a stop to the ceaseless, never-ending flow of drugs and fentanyl into the United States. Pretty powerful stuff there from Kari Lake. You can see why a lot of people are concerned about her gaining ground on the cowardly Katie Hobbs, who still refuses to debate. We also have another Arizona candidate who is actually down there at the border. Blake Masters is gaining a lot of ground on Mark Kelly. And this is a clip from Blake Masters, who went and visited the border. And look, he's pulling up this image of a migrant's ID. And he's going to explain to us that what happens here is in these trash heaps is that these IDs are dropped so that they don't actually have to be turned over, or they don't get ID'd once they cross into Arizona and the rest of these United States. Here is what the tweet looked like from Blake Masters. He said, illegal aliens trash their IDs and their Mexican green cards to make themselves harder to deport. These people have traveled through many countries and literally established residency in Mexico, but thanks to Mark Kelly and Joe Biden, now they get to live in America. And here is Blake Masters down at the border. You can see and hear what he's talking about.
Sheep. Here we have that.
Oh, here's a better one.
Voter registration card from India. There we go. What do you got?
Permanent resident.
Permanent resident.
So it's a Cuban who established permanent residency in Mexico. He could be returned to Mexico, but he discards this.
Cuban visitor.
He has established residency.
There's a visitor from India. They're just paying Mexico for permanent residency and then ditching the card here right before they cross the border. Otherwise, they can be more easily returned to Mexico. Here's a Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh COVID vaccine.
Dropping them in giant trash heaps right at the border and right at this is U.S. property. These are people's residences and these are people's private property and fields. And this type of scenery can be seen all up and down the border. And I got to tell you, right, people in border states are sick and tired of it. Nobody wants their land. Nobody wants their country. Nobody wants their nation to look like that. And it is all over the place. And so if Blake Masters has to go around and trek around Arizona and see what it's really like, and it is this bad all over the place, maybe they can experience a little taste of that over there at Martha's Vineyard or over there at the Naval Observatory, and they can see that this is a crisis, and we need people like Blake Masters to get into the Senate and do something about it, because we know that individuals like Mark Kelly won't. Mark Kelly is asked about Joe Biden and his policies on basically everything, and he has a little bit of a difficult time supporting the president. Here's Mark Kelly on Arizona Family, stumbling around on this one.
You know, your thoughts on his job. Has he done a good job, do you think?
Hey, first of all, it's not my job to give him a report card.
Yeah, it kind of is, though, Mark, right? You are part of his party, and you kind of got to vote for his bills and his things. And so you did vote for that Inflation Reduction Act. How'd that work out there, Mark? How'd the inflation numbers look the last time they came out earlier this week? Not too good. So the report card is an F, Mark, and you know it is. But my friends, that is the update on the migrant invasion of Martha's Vineyard. Yeah, they've got 50 migrants over there. Absolute meltdown all across the media. People calling for the prosecution of Ron DeSantis as this problem continues. And we'll see if the White House has anything to say about it. My guess is not.